Ever since it was reported that Denis Villeneuve intended to conclude his adaptation of Frank Herbert's Dune saga with his second book, Dune Messiah, fans of the series have been speculating about how audiences will react. While at first glance, Dune might appear to be a tale of heroic triumph for Paul Atreides, its sequel, Dune Messiah, presents an unsettling and profoundly challenging portrait of Paul's reign. This jarring transition from apparent heroism to what seems like villainy is crucial to understanding Herbert's grander vision. This is also why mainstream audiences may find it difficult to digest, even as die-hard fans revel in its thematic depth and complexity. In this video, I'd like to explore the reasons that a film adaptation of Dune Messiah is likely to generate significant pushback or even distaste among general audiences, even while it has the potential to be a beloved installment for dedicated fans of the series. Spoiler warning if you are unfamiliar with Frank Herbert's Dune series. The concept of heroism is deeply ingrained in human culture. From ancient myths to contemporary cinema, we're taught that heroes conquer adversity, that they stand for justice, and that they are an instrumental force in bringing balance to their worlds. Such tales are inherently satisfying. They make for gripping storytelling, and they give us all something to aspire to. However, Frank Herbert's carefully crafted story arc for Paul Atreides disrupts this conventional storyline. The first book and its cinematic adaptations can be framed as Paul's rise from an ousted noble to the leader of the Fremen and eventually the emperor who disrupts the corrupt political machinery of his universe. Mainstream audiences indoctrinated by decades of conventional storytelling might interpret this as a standard tale of an underdog who rises to claim his destiny. However, Dune Messiah throws a wrench into this tidy narrative, as it is not a story of triumph, but one of tragedy and disillusionment. It explores the dire consequences of Messiah complexes and the cult of personality. The Paul Atreides we meet in Dune Messiah is not the same hero who led a revolutionary army and claimed victory over the galaxy. Instead, he's a ruler weighed down by the burden of a bloody and vicious jihad, a religious war that has claimed billions of lives in his name. He is haunted by prescience, unable to change the course of events that he himself set into motion. Here, Paul becomes a tragic figure, indeed a villain in his own story, embodying the very tyranny he sought to topple. The golden child of the noble House Atreides turns into a man who continues to sanction mass killings even as he recognizes the horror of his actions. This complexity can be jarring for audiences who like their heroes unambiguous and their morality black and white. Frank Herbert once noted, "Heroes are painful. Superheroes are a catastrophe. The mistakes of superheroes involve too many of us in disaster." This sentiment reflects an ideological cornerstone that shapes the large majority of the Dune saga. It is a perspective that's particularly relevant in a media landscape that tends to glorify heroes and leaders, often simplifying the personalities and actions of mainstream figures to fit neatly within the confines of traditional storytelling. Herbert's warnings at the heart of Dune are about the dangers of deifying individuals to the point where their flaws and errors can lead to widespread suffering and calamity. The mainstream media's framing of these stories often doesn't lend itself to such complexities. For instance, one headline from Variety about Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya's characters joining forces to save the universe captures a commonly held sentiment that's significantly at odds with Herbert's original narrative. Such headlines crystallize the mainstream audience's expectations for a kind of unity and heroism that feels good, that feels right. These perceptions tap into the collective psyche that yearns for stories where the heroes rise above challenges and adversities to make everything right. However, Herbert's Dune Messiah is not invested in providing such simple satisfaction. It goes against the grain, challenging these very notions that general audiences hold dear. The book calls into question the idea of the savior, showing how the blind worship of heroes and leaders can lead to devastating consequences. This profound tension between popular perception and Herbert's thematic concerns suggests that an adaptation of Dune Messiah might not just divide audiences, it could confound and even alienate those unprepared for its subversive narrative. This dissonance will be especially heightened if director Denis Villeneuve stays true to the source material, refusing to soften the harsh truths that Dune Messiah delivers. In a world that craves inspirational tales of heroes who overcome adversities, Dune Messiah serves as an antithesis, a dire cautionary tale about the dangers of hero worship and the grim realities of power. Additionally, general audience members who are primarily drawn to the Dune series due to the celebrity cast, particularly those who are invested in Paul and Chani's relationship, may find Dune Messiah especially unsettling. The film disrupts conventional expectations by not providing triumphant or heroic arcs for many of its star characters. Chani meets a tragic end after having been secretly poisoned with contraceptives for many years and dying during childbirth, while the physically blinded Paul descends into seemingly endless despair, abandoning his newborn children, choosing a lonely death in the desert. These story elements sharply contrast with traditional Hollywood tales of love conquering all and characters living happily ever after. On the other hand, viewers who are more familiar with the Dune series will likely appreciate a faithful adaptation of Dune Messiah. For them, the richness of the series lies not in vivid visuals and charismatic performances, but in its thematic complexity and its willingness to deconstruct the tropes it initially seems to employ. They will go into the film with an appreciation of Herbert's audacity to question the very foundations of heroism, forcing readers and viewers to wrestle with uncomfortable truths. If it's adapted faithfully, Villeneuve's Dune Part 3 will see the culmination of themes that were only hinted at in the first two installments. Dune Messiah may not deliver the triumphant spectacle that mainstream audiences might desire, but it offers something far richer, a cerebral, emotionally resonant saga that sticks with you, challenging your perceptions long after you've turned the last page or viewed the last scene. Overall, Dune Messiah may initially appear to be a bleak chapter in the story of the Atreides family and the universe they inhabit, especially when viewed in isolation. While Dune Messiah focuses on the dark and complicated realities of leadership, burdened by the paradox of prescience and the tragedy of Paul's jihad, Children of Dune begins to explore potential paths toward salvation. Therefore, when viewed through the larger lens of the series, Dune Messiah can be seen as an essential, albeit darker chapter that sets the stage for the growth that comes in subsequent books. Ultimately, whether or not audiences are ready for this gut punch of a story, if it's done right, Dune Messiah could stand as a divisive yet potentially rewarding cinematic experience. But I'm curious to know what you think of the potential audience reception to Dune Messiah. Do you feel most people will appreciate the warnings and themes that serve as the basis for the story? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to subscribe for more Dune and other sci-fi and fantasy news and lore. And if you're looking for other ways to show your appreciation, you can check out my Patreon page, where members get access to exclusive perks. Thank you all so much for your support, and as always, have a very nerdy day.